PHNX Cardinals podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. They've got another offer every football fan should jump on. New customers using the code PHNX to sign up can bet just $1 on any NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. So pretty much a guarantee. And for the third week in a row, we are welcoming Frank Sanders back into the studio because he decided that he had better things to do with his weekend. How did Vegas treat you, Frank?
Vegas treated me like I should have left 2 days earlier.
That's always the case.
It beats me up, bro. Like it's too much going on. It's so many weird people. It's so many amazing people. So many amazing things to do. And every time I go to Vegas, I feel like I'm there too long. And I just it's too much to take. It's like a buffet for me. Like I'm a specific meal type of guy, and I need that. I want that. I go to your hotel for that. But when you're in Vegas, it's like, but I want that, and I want that. I'm gonna go to Paris.
This isn't like some sort of analogy
for
the girls or something.
No.
It can be.
I mean, it can be, but it's like, not.
What do you want, Frank? I mean, I'm not picking up what you're putting down here.
I want big butts, and I cannot lie. You other brothers can deny, but when a pretty little thing goes, I get.
Okay.
So, but
okay,
Vegas
you golf
is
though.
great.
You golf over here.
I
What did
did.
you go there for?
I went for honestly, it was a great trip, a great cause too, with the Walter Payton Foundation, and it was done in excellence. We was at Southside Golf Course, which is a private course, and they allowed us to get out there. It was probably 25 other celebrity football players between Willie Gault, Eric Davis from the San Francisco 49ers, Sherman White, Rod Woodson was there. Did I say Willie Gault?
Mm-hmm.
Frank Sanders, that dude was there too, just to name a few.
Wow,
but
big time.
Biggest celeb there.
I mean, right. But it was
high
good,
level
though.
event right there. Right?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was a high level event. They treated us nice. But at the end of the day, we raised a lot of money for the Walter Payton Foundation. And the idea is a man of character and excellence who worked hard. Nothing was given to him, and all he wanted to do was do the same thing back. So kudos to Alex Stone. He put it on, and a lot of guys showed up. Crazy thing was that a lot of guys couldn't make it because of the Southwest airplane
Cancellations.
situation.
Oh my
Yeah.
A lot of guys didn't make it. I mean, we thought we had a sold-out event, but it was just a lot of guys could not make it because of the plane strikes, or the plane situation. I'm going to say strikes, but the plane situations.
Yeah,
It's great.
That affected-
Chierstin's flying
Yeah.
on Thursday with Southwest.
Yeah, fingers
so
crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Bang, bang.
I don't
but
know
it's
if
great.
I might be stuck here and I won't go to Cleveland. Frank, do you ever get starstruck still?
I do. I swear I do. I do. Like, I'm like, I don't know if you know me, though. Like, that gets me. Like, if I see you and I'm like, yeah, but I played 9 years. You got 5. I'm like, but you was that dude, though. Like, and so when I introduce myself, I'm almost like, hey, I'm Frank Sanders. You know, I give him a full name. Like, or I'll say.
And you're hoping they go, oh, I know you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because you don't know who. Look.
You're not hoping that they go, did you play in the NFL?
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's why I tell them my whole name. Like,
What's your
'cause, like,
background?
That's the kind of stuff that will throw you. Look, you don't take it. Look, there are levels in the NFL. There are superstars that will not know you. There are teams. There's teams that have only won. Players who have only been on winning teams. I have not been on that team, so you don't really pay attention to teams that have been losing a lot. So you just feel like, well, this is an automatic win. So when I meet Eric Davis, and like, he's cornerback, San Francisco 49ers championship rings, but when I played against him, I wanted to play against him because I knew I had the skill set to put some hands on him. But outside of that, I still got to respect that he was on a winning team, Super Bowl champ. So yeah, I met Roger Craig, and I was like, hey, Mr. Craig. He was like, call me Frank. Mr. Dorsett. I said, hey, Mr. Dorsett, Frank. Now when he said Frank, that blew my mind. That caught me by surprise when I met Tony Dorsett. He said Frank, and I paused like the world had stopped. Because I grew up a Dallas Cowboy fan, and Tony Dorsett was TD.
A lot of guys, too, whether
Yeah.
they're in the league or especially after they get out of the league, don't watch football.
That's true.
And don't love the game or have a disconnect
That's
with the
true.
game. And so, yeah, I wouldn't take it personally.
I have 2 people that I've been starstruck meeting, and it's like a really odd 2
Give
people.
Who
it
are the
to
2
me.
people?
Come
Well, you're going to make fun of me for the first one.
Of course we are.
No, we
why-
won't.
that's why
I
we wanna hear
promise.
it.
Yeah.
I promise we won't. We will not.
Tim Tebow.
Okay.
Oh, I'd be
Touchdown,
starstruck with
Jesus.
Tim Tebow, for sure.
He was here locally, here at Impact Church,
Okay.
started by an former Arizona Cardinals player. And I was there and I got to meet him. And I swear, like, I just kind of like looked up and everything was in slow motion for a second.
There was an aura.
And yeah. And I was young and he was still like a very, very big, I mean, he's still a big name, but it was different back then.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I don't know why, John Elway.
Those are both great examples. I was prepared for something, maybe like a Disney Channel star or something. That's kind of where my mind went. I apologize.
No. I mean, I met
Disney Channel star.
Yeah, we talked about.
We have been with Chierstin for quite a while now. And what we have found out about her is that she is not as innocent as she
That's true. That is true.
Today.
There are some things that she has said in the last hour that I'm like, wait, what? What? Wow. I had no idea. So that's pretty cool.
Wow. Listen, I am all for.
Someday we'll get the unedited version of these podcasts, and you guys will all love me for it.
Yes.
Yeah. And until then, let's move on.
John?
Oh wait. Oh yeah, Johnny.
Johnny?
How about you?
I don't know if I've ever been. I don't think I've met enough celebrities to be starstruck. I've met Michael Bidwell, and he was incredibly friendly, and that I was with my father, and I didn't have a ton to say, and he was super nice guy. Trying to think who else. Nobody like high. Like
well, I have one
level.
more story for you guys. I'm just thought of this. So while I was here for the Super Bowl.
Just cut you off. Just cut you the hell off. Like you didn't even matter.
Thank you.
I had something
I
else.
thought you were done. I thought you were talking. I thought Bidwell was your guy. I thought that was your story.
It's not.
You're done.
Like,
I got a story.
I got one better. Guys, check this out.
It's
Look.
not. I'll tell you.
Quickly, Johnny. Quickly. I've got a story.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, take the mic. Cut. Run with it.
Johnny, I want to hear. It's got to be better than Bidwell, though. Come on.
All right. So in where I'm from in Bloomington, Illinois, there's a college called Illinois Wesleyan. My grandfather used to be the theater director there, and he had a student. And his student at the time when he was there grew up to be Dick Jenkins, who was the father in Step Brothers. And we went out to eat probably like 5 years ago with the Mr. Doback from Step Brothers, and I got starstruck around him. And
That's
he's
a
like
good one.
won Emmys and stuff, so he's legitimate. But please continue.
No.
That
Are
is
you
kind
done?
of cool.
That's
Yeah.
cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's much better.
Much better, Michael
I mean,
Bidwell.
Michael Bidwell is awesome, but
Urban Meyer was your babysitter, though.
And listen,
I do
yeah,
remember.
when
He
you
We don't talk about it
start your
anymore.
life out by having Urban Meyer, pick you up
I don't
and
think
feed
he
you bottles.
interacted
Thank
with me
you.
much.
So
I think
many-
he was.
See?
I have
He
so
probably
many
stiff-
questions for your parents
He's
right now.
probably stiff armed me. My mom was probably like, "Here's our son."
No,
He's probably like, "I got to get the hell
He's
out
in
of
the
this
basement.
town."
He went
Get-
down there. We know
No,
it. It's
his
all-
wife put
all
it
legit.
in her autobiography, or his, basically like she hated Bloomington, Illinois, so like he doesn't acknowledge it. So I'm sure he's not like reminiscing about me living in a basement where I'm upstairs, shitting in my diaper, and yeah, that's what was going on. So
Your cloth diaper.
yeah, no, we don't play that shit. No, hell no. We throw that away in the garbage. You should too.
And you should too.
What's your story, Chierstin?
Well, it wasn't really about me. I was just gonna say the funniest interaction I've had with the celebrity was that when the Super Bowl was here. How many years ago was that?
Like 5.
5 years ago. I was at somebody's Super Bowl party. It was at the W, and there was people all over the place, but everyone was casual about it. All of a sudden, just everybody, like, there was so much noise, and everybody flocked to this one section, and I'm like trying to stand on my tippy toes. I'm like, oh my god, who is it? People were going nuts. I finally look in, and I make my way over to the line because I was curious because it was that obnoxious. It was Boo the dog. Does anybody know Boo the dog? I think they passed away. Oh, you don't know?
Boo the dog?
Is that like Lil Sebastian from
Oh,
Parks and Recreation, where people go nuts for an animal?
Who
And
the
you don't
dog? I
get-
don't know.
Boo the dog?
I'm pretty sure Boo passed away. So this was Boo.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
So Boo was he
I
was
would've done
being
the same. I
escorted
would've done
into
that.
like the VIP section.
Boo
And I'm
was
telling you, there were celebrities all over the place and everyone was just acting normal. And then all of a sudden it was like, I'm like, oh, that's gotta be good. It's gotta be good. It was Boo the
What
dog
the
being
hell?
carried
What?
to VIP.
Wow. Carried to VIP.
I'll tell you what.
I had a story at Disney World. My fiance is a big Cowboys fan, and we were in line to get some popcorn and coffee. And right behind me was Emmitt Smith because we were there during the Pro Bowl, and this is like 3 years ago. And so I turn around and I'm like, oh shit, it's Emmitt Smith. You know what I mean? Try not to make a big deal because I know he doesn't want that. She had left because she was like, I want to go find a different kind of coffee or whatever. Luckily for her, she turned around and I'm pointing behind me and she looks and she sees it's Emmitt Smith. So I start striking up a conversation with Emmitt. No big deal. Like, I'm not starstruck by Emmitt Smith. He's just another guy. And so we started talking and I asked him if we could take a picture because I know she wants one. He's like, dude, you see how many people are around? If you take a picture, people are going to know something's up. Like, let's just chill, talk in this line for like the next 10, 15 minutes, and we're cool. I was like, perfect. So we start talking. She can't say a word. She's just like, I'm like, do you have any questions for Emmitt? He's your favorite player of all time. She's just like, I got nothing. And I'm sorry. All right, fine. So we don't take the picture. The next week, I come back home. I go cover the Waste Management Open. And I'm down on it's that Wednesday, the Pro-Am.
Yeah.
And he's hitting, his $1 million hole-in-one challenge thing. And I see him and I'm like, Emmitt. And he looks at me and he goes, Disney. And I was like, would you mind taking a video for my fiance and her whole family's like Cowboys fans? So I got the video on my phone. He said, hey, Gonzalez's, I'm so happy to have met you at Disney. It's such a small world. Thanks for supporting the Cowboys.
Awesome.
And that was it. He was so cool about it. So awesome. So that's my little starstruck story. Even though
I do have one more quick example that I do remember now where I was starstruck. I was in Panama City Beach my sophomore year of college, and the Carter 3 had just come out, and Lil Wayne was in Panama City Beach. And I just couldn't keep it together. Yep, we were at some bar and he was performing. He was walking around.
There's so many stories.
You rock with Lil Wayne.
We're both very little. That album was my favorite album in college. Was the Carter 3. And it just come out. Yeah.
Carter 3 was your favorite album.
That was mine too.
Get the fake out.
Hey, Mr. Carter. Yeah. Tell me where have you been?
I think I was in high school, so like I had my little like red Mitsubishi Eclipse, and I would just like blast that. It had some subs on it, and I would just like blast it through my hometown.
His albums haven't been nearly as good since.
What is going on, man? What is going on?
My team of thugs over here. Yes, yes. Thug 1, Thug 2. Heck yeah!
Oh my god. The coolest rapper I ever met was Lil Dicky, so it's not even in the same ballpark.
Well, I didn't talk to him; he was just standing right there. But I was starstruck nonetheless.
Still pretty.
He doesn't want to hear from me. Come on.
So Lil Wayne was actually at the Suns game during the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everybody was. It was a place to be.
I'll never forget the story. Back That Ass Up came out, and he was like, and this is my last piece. They let him shoot that video, and he was like 15. That verse he had in that song with Juvenile, he was like 15 years old, and that's all I can ever think about when I hear that song. It was like he was like a little boy when he
was 15 years old when he did that
verse. Yeah, he was under 18 for sure. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That was a 15-year-old.
I'm pretty sure he's like between 15
he said he was
and 17.
15. He was like.
Lil Wayne was 15. Lil Wayne was, yeah.
It was not all the booty that was popping in there. It was.
There were no rules.
They were of age.
As long as one person wasn't of age, that's a little. Oh my god! I do not
rewatch that video and see if they were checking IDs.
I don't think they were checking IDs. It was
no ID checking in that video.
Oh my god!
It was more of a public park situation.
Your mind just being blown, seeing all that at the time. If you're 15, like
wobble, baby. Like, what is going on?
Okay, now we're done.
Anyway, so the Cardinals.
Welcome to the PHNX
Speaking
podcast.
of blowing your minds,
15 minutes in, Cardinals facing adversity once again. Chandler Jones, it was reported that he is now on the COVID reserve list, and that's coming after injuries to Rodney Hudson, injury to Max Williams. He'll potentially be out for the season. We have not heard anything definitively yet, but adversity continues to strike for the Arizona Cardinals. And Chandler Jones, you got to have, since he's vaccinated, you've got to have 2 negative COVID tests within a 24-hour period. So that could mean tomorrow. That could mean 2 weeks from now. We don't know.
That would be a tough loss for us if he's not there in Cleveland. Just overall, if he's still in protocol for how many weeks it takes, of course we wish that he is healthy. We hope that is on the table first. But it would be a blow to our team in regards to not having all our weapons to go to Cleveland with, and having the team, our opponent, the Cleveland Browns, having to pay attention and prepare for him. if there's on the table a chance that he can go out and play, and they know that, then they have to prepare for him. And if he's not there, then that's better for us because they prepare for somebody that's not there. And that's war-minded mentality when it comes to football. That's why they stress having the IR list or telling who's on the injury report or, of course,
how long do they
COVID.
have to do that? So the Cardinals, several people have reported it, but the Cardinals have not released an official statement on him. So do they have until tomorrow to do something like that?
I would think so. Until they have to know for sure that's the scenario.
Well, what's a positive
what's going
test?
forward.
I don't know the ins and outs of the COVID testing. I know that they have to put it on the injury report, though. I think it has to be on the injury report so the other team knows.
Mhm.
You have to treat it like an injury.
Mm-hmm.
So the first official injury report goes out tomorrow, right? So I would imagine it's on there. I don't think he'll play this weekend. He could, but I think you're putting together a game plan. He's not even he can't be in the facility, right? So even if he had a quick turnaround, if he's active, he'd be a backup. This week it's going to be about Marcus Golden, and then like Devon Kennard's probably going to start, or they're going to run a 4-3 front with Watt on the outside, which was really effective Sunday, and coincidentally so was Chandler Jones. But if he's part of their game plan, it's like house money. But you have to plan like he's not playing.
You really hope that Byron Murphy comes back, and so does Wilson, because then you're not so concerned about the pass rush because you have ample defenders out there at the cornerback position. But it's a big blow no matter which way you slice it, right? Because Chandler Jones he's a valuable part of this defense. We haven't seen much in the sack column from him since week 1, but he does other things on the field that make a difference. And that's what we talked about with J.J. Watt over the weekend. Is that he hasn't really been credited with a sack yet, but he's still producing at a very high level, exactly what they're paying him to do. So we'll see how they adjust.
Well, the other thing is the Cleveland Browns are not a 49ers team led by a rookie quarterback that's way in over his head, and they're just trying to run the ball. I mean, the Browns can stretch the field, and so Marco Wilson and Byron Murphy, I hope at minimum one of them is back.
Yeah, they have the best, that being the Browns, statistically, analytically, the best offensive line in football. They've given up the fewest pressures. They've got by far the best running back combination. I think Nick Chubb is the best pure runner right now in football. And then, you talk about Odell Beckham Jr., Donovan Peoples-Jones. I do think that the two corners could have played Sunday, and they held him back. So I think that bodes well. And listen, you've got Isaiah Simmons, who can rush the passer a little bit. That was part of the intrigue of bringing him on. Dennis Gardeck is now 3 weeks removed from the injury reserve. So they got some pieces. And again, like to Saul's point, like Chandler Jones, he had 5 sacks in week 1. He hasn't had one since then. He had 1 game last year. He had a sack, and then that's it. So we have to look at this at some point as a pattern with him where he's not finishing like he used to be. I think this is more of a game where you're like, keep Baker Mayfield in the pocket, make him, if you're able to stop the run, push the ball downfield. It's an incredibly difficult situation for the Cardinals one way or the other.
So the Cardinals reportedly brought in tight ends Richard Rodgers, Luke Stalker, and David Wells for workouts today. Also linebacker Joe Walker and cornerback Kevin Peterson. But my eyes are on those tight ends they brought in for workouts. Not names that I would have necessarily been intrigued with.
So that echoes the fan sentiments. Everybody wants to trade, right? I get that. But nothing you do today is going to help you Sunday. Daryl Daniels is back off the COVID list. That's like the most substantial move. He'll start presumably for this team in place of Max Williams this Sunday. And then you've got Houston next week. You figure you can buy some time, knock on wood. Anybody can beat anybody on a given Sunday. But I would say they're stashing some guys on the practice squad. Rodgers was signed. Richard Rodgers, who was with Philadelphia last year, was signed to the Cardinals practice squad. He had like 350 yards receiving last year. The move that people want at the tight end position is going to take time if they make it. So if you want a Hayden Hurst, if you want to go bring back Dan Arnold from Jacksonville, like we're in week 5, typically trades aren't made this early. That's a let's see what we've got. Let's get somebody implemented, but it's not an overnight thing. And everybody's like, go trade for Jonnu Smith and have him here tomorrow and he's going to start. That's not the way the NFL works.
I mean, I don't think it's easy to come in and just learn our system either.
Right.
The tight end, you're either going to be a blocking person or you're going to be some. We have enough weapons on the outside that we can go 4 wides and throw somebody in there without having to have a tight end. I mean, everything. our tight end did was absolutely fabulous for us, and he was making so many great strides. Unfortunately, he got hurt, and but going out on the streets and picking somebody to put him into our system right now, it's not a necessity, but it is good. It would be good to have him. So that's them checking the box on trying to get bodies in here. But at the end of the day, we really don't need a tight end at that position right now.
If you think you're going to get somebody like Mark Andrews, you can forget about it because that ain't happening. And I think every fan thinks that, it's like the curse of the backup quarterback. It's whoever you can go out and get is always going to be the greatest thing ever. And it's not necessarily the case. Again, it takes time to learn the system. Even if they went out and got the best tight end in football, it would still take time for them to adjust to the system in order to be as effective as the Cardinals need them to be. It took Max Williams the better part of his entire tenure with the Cardinals to finally get to a point where he felt comfortable in this offense, and they felt comfortable utilizing him in this offense. And I think as they move forward, the options that they have in-house are probably going to be better than the ones that they bring from outside the house.
Yeah, there were people who thought Darryl Daniels was a better receiving option before the season, and Max Williams just took his game to the other level. Give him credit. It's unfortunate he was going to set career highs this year. But to Saul's point, I think it's almost more important that you find somebody who's a capable blocker first and foremost, because you've got 4 receivers you feel really good about. You want to make sure Kyler Murray stays upright and healthy. So it may not be the sexy move, but the tight end they bring in might be predominantly a blocker, and then whatever you get from a receiving standpoint, that's just what you get.
So not only does anybody that they might bring in have to learn the system, but they also have such a good thing going with their chemistry, and everybody's on the same page right now. DJ Humphries was asked today, how's it going to be in terms of just fitting in with the culture if they bring somebody in? And here's what he had to say.
I think that's when you give a shout out to the guys Steve and A-Dub and them guys upstairs. They do a good job of bringing in people that are like-minded and they're liking and what we have going on here in the building. So we haven't come into that issue. And I think that we have the type of group that is so welcoming and so open in conversation that would be something we would be able to nip in the bud pretty quickly if we did.
That's encouraging, and there's faith from the players in Steve Keim and whoever's making decisions to bring players in, that they're going to bring the right people in that have the right mindsets, that have the right attitudes, which is key.
They have a track record. They make a trade every year since Kingsbury's been here. They brought in Kenyon Drake. Year one, we talked about yesterday, that team was going nowhere, and Steve Keim's like, let's throw him a ball, let's get him a running back, right? Last year, Marcus Golden, they brought him on for a 6th-round pick. They're going to, I fully believe, whether it's tight end or defensive line or corner, they'll bring somebody in midseason, because clearly this is a team with playoff and January football aspirations, and every week the expectations are cranked up now. Nobody cares about a 3rd-round pick next spring. Everybody's trying to win right now. So they'll reinforce this team somehow.
I refuse to believe that they would go out and get a tight end before they got a defensive lineman.
That's fair.
The way they get gashed in the running game, you might see it emphasized even more on Sunday, because Chubb is no joke.
Yeah.
And like you said, the offensive line is one of the best in football, if not the best in football. So they got their hands full, and we'll see what kind of scheme they can put together to try and manage that high power offense all of a sudden. Because a couple weeks ago they didn't look that high powered. They were kind of struggling, and then all of a sudden against San Diego,
right?
Not San Diego,
LA.
the LA Chargers. They looked amazing. So we'll see what happens with them.
So something that bugs me a little bit is cliches in sports, and there's one that's been floating around this season specifically with the Cardinals, but every team says it, but they're just really latching on to having that 1-0 mentality. Has there ever been a football team in the history of football that hasn't said, we want to have a 1-0 mentality this week? We're just going to go, we're going to aim to go 1-0 this week. Jeez.
We're going to take it one game at a time.
I mean, every team says that. So the Cardinals seem to be really latching onto that statement, though. So my question is, since every team says it, what's the difference between a team just saying it and a team actually living it out week in and week out?
I said leadership, and the leadership in the game plan, because your leadership will be the ones that will hold us accountable in regards to showing up and playing and getting ready to play your opponent. He can go out and party, but if he doesn't come to work ready, then he did us an injustice. And if the game plan is solid, then it gives us all a chance to actually attack that specific team. We just played a team that looks exactly like us. They got a running quarterback. They got big, long defensive ends. They got great cornerbacks good cornerbacks on the outside. They run pretty much the same defense. The offense is an RPO offense, and both coaches are supposed to be young masterminds that can come together and put together a game plan, no matter who's the quarterback. Well, next week we're playing somebody totally different. We just played the Rams, who were not an RPO offense, a steady drop back, stick it in your face, 4 or 5 receivers, and we got a whole bunch of stuff going on with a badass defense. Well, this week you play the 49ers, and that's that next week mentality. What's next? Who we're playing next? Are we focused on this week and what it takes? So that 1 week mentality helps because, especially when you're playing, you got to play the Rams again. And then you got to play the 49ers again. But now we're playing somebody totally different out of the division. And so now you got to get focused on them because you don't necessarily think that we're 2-0 in our division.
Right.
We can dump a game because it's not a division opponent. Mm-hmm. And that mentality will be the part that you got to say, hold on, scrap everything. You got to get locked in here. What is the game plan saying? And is the game plan ready to dominate against this team? Defensively, will we have the right personnel and the right guys that we feel comfortable stopping the run? Do we have enough downhill plays that will stop the run defense? And that is the part where it sounds cliche. It does. And it really kind of like, well, you don't want them thinking about Green Bay right now. Who wants to hear him think about Green Bay? No, I'm thinking about Green Bay.
I agree with Frank, and I think with this team specifically, again, based off of what happened last year and when they were 6-3, and you just know that there was players in that locker room thinking like, okay, the playoffs are basically a sure bet. Like, unless we completely shit the bed, we're gonna make the playoffs. And then they proceeded to shit said bed. Like, so it's easier to buy into, hey, we can't worry about what's coming down the road. We can't worry about the Packers. We can't worry about Dallas or Chicago or anything like. We gotta worry about 1 week at a time. And I think it's much easier to sell that in the locker room this year than maybe any other time. So I believe that hype.
It's the hardest game they've had on the schedule, in my opinion, outside of the Ram game.
Yep.
The Browns have the most complete roster in the NFL. They're healthier right now. It's a road game in not East Coast, but Central Time Zone. At least with the Rams, you get to stay on the West Coast. It's a game where AFC doesn't factor into tiebreakers. I'm not picking them.
It's the 17th game on the schedule, by the way. It's the throw-in that they had.
Which stinks because other teams, I mean, you'd probably rather play any other team, maybe not Baltimore in that division. They're a legitimate threat in the AFC. They could be 5-0 right now. They could have won last week. They could have won week 1 against Kansas City. So the Cardinals will have to play exponentially better offensively than they did Sunday to be able to win. Defensively, if they can match that performance, we'll see. But to me, you got Houston in 2 weeks, right? So you're not looking past this team to Houston, but then the Packer game is, creeping up. That Thursday night game, wouldn't it be all right? I mean, like, you want to have momentum going into that game. But this week, man, AFC opponent, do you tend to look down on the fact that it's not in the NFC? I don't know.
So the Cardinals started out the week 2.5-point underdogs.
Yep.
And now they're 3-point underdogs, correct?
Yeah.
You think that has anything to do with
Chandler Jones? Yeah, maybe. No singular player, this is a fun fact, in Vegas is worth more than half a point outside the quarterback. So when you see lines change dramatically, it's usually based on quarterbacks not playing or playing, and those get zipped up off the app fairly quickly when that happens. I think most people just say Cardinals have a tough time stopping the run. Cleveland is off an emotional loss and needs to bounce back. Browns have a really good roster. They're a good team, and the Cardinals are going to go travel out east. I think that's why they're an underdog.
You were not confident in picking anything that had to do with the Cardinals game against the 49ers. Are you going to pick anything this week?
I think I'll pick the over in this game. I think there'll be a lot of points.
Okay. All right. Well, if you have not downloaded the DraftKings Sportsbook app and gotten in on the action yet, if you do so, use the code PHNX. We always got a deal for you. This week, you bet $1 in any football game, you're going to get $100 in free bets if either team scores. So that's pretty much a guarantee. As always, 21 and over, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. I also want to share that, Saul, is this the last day to get 20% off the PHNX shirts?
It is, yes.
All right. So for members only, 20% off any of our black and white PHNX brand tees. They go awesome with a wardrobe like me, where I wear lots of black and lots of whites, and it's a very simple thing. Very simple life to live. Our members always get the best deals, but you don't have to be a member to get any of our shirts at phnxlocker.com. All right, so Frank, while you were gone, a little birdie told me that something that I had no idea how big of a celebrity you were. I heard
hence were, she just said, not are, but were.
Frank,
I'm okay with it.
Frank still are. Allow me to correct my words.
Thank you.
You played baseball and football at Auburn, played in the College World Series, were drafted twice, and I forget Mariners and something else.
Cubs.
Chicago
Cubs in high school.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. Drafted by the Cubs in high school. It's ironic. I was trying to play basketball my junior year. I was trying to play basketball, and then the coach said, "Look, I got all my players. This is my club ball. You should go do something else. Why don't you go help Coach Talbert, which was the science coach?" And he said they might need somebody at baseball. So me and a buddy of mine, he's like, "I said, let's go." So we went. First year, 2-1, 2-21.
Whoa.
Second year, 4-17. Third year, junior year of baseball, we was 9-something, 11, and then the following year we was 12-10. And the Cubs came out. They saw me play against a great Latino baseball team in Miami that was loaded with nothing but, top one and draft first round, second round talent. And the Cubs came and asked me, wanted to give me a workout, so it worked out. Got drafted by the Cubs, and then Mom said, "Don't take the money." They was gonna offer me $85,000.
Damn.
My mom was sick so just a little sidebar. So last Wednesday I wasn't here, and I was at the Cardinals event it's cancer. Crucial catch, right? So I was with a bunch of people who were dealing with cancer, all sorts, and the parents and family and brothers, sisters, loved ones, all sorts. So I'm there, and they don't know. But my mom passed from cancer my senior year of high school. But while I was going through this process of high school graduating and all this stuff, she said, if the Cubs want you now, they'll want you later. So go to college. So I turned down the money and went to college, and then waited my junior year to play. And Coach Dye brought me in for that point. I said, "Hey, look, I'll come to your school if you give me a chance to play football and baseball." So long story short, we go 11-0 my junior year, and then I asked Coach Terry Bowden, "Can I go?" He said, "Yeah." Long story, then we get to the College World Series. And it was pretty cool. The Mariners came and picked your boy up that way too. So I could have went baseball or football, but here's how I'll tell anyone if you're trying to decide if it's something you like and love. And that's why I made the decision. I knew that I liked baseball, but I loved football.
Yeah.
And what I loved about football was it was 11 games, or it was 17 games, or it was 16 games. And in baseball, it turned to be like, then I got to the College World Series, JV, and I knew what the slump looked like. I mean, I got there and the ball looked orange. Every other game we played prior to that, in the regionals or the SEC championships, the ball looked orange when I got to Omaha. Nothing. I just didn't see the strings. Anything I hit was a pop up. Every place I thought it was going to be great. Just nothing. But it didn't stop them from drafting your boy. So, so I must have did something that they thought I was worth getting picked up.
Do you think you would have made more money if you played baseball?
No. Baseball is a deterrent in regards to, unless you're in the top pick, first, second round pick, you're primarily going to a farm league. And if you got to go to a farm league, you got to go to farm league first, then you go single A, double A, triple A. Football, this is why I love football. It was a direct contact. Once I knew I was going to get drafted, I felt like I was going to get drafted. I knew once I got into the NFL, I wasn't 100% sure I was going to make it, but I knew if I did, then I was going to start getting checks immediately. I didn't have to go. There's no farm league for football. The SEC,
like Kyler Murray's
it's the
process.
SEC, and then Pac-10, Pac-12, B, others, all. If you're not in the SEC, you're in minor leagues of football in college. Right.
That's a dig.
That's a dig. That's the worst.
Pac-12
and none
country
of them said
of all
nothing.
places to make this
and
statement.
none of them said
Saul's not
nothing.
disputing that. He's like, I don't have a problem with that.
And none of them said
It's true.
nothing.
We're
It's true.
0-89. Like, I don't give a shit.
It's
I'm
so
not gonna
true. It's
dispute
not
that
even
at all.
funny.
He said,
It's so true. It's
It
not
is-
even
It's
funny.
the
It is
SEC,
so.
Ohio State. and
they're
that's about
literally
it.
Yeah.
they're literally talking about they're like the little semi-pro team. So, but anyway, long story short, I knew I was going to, I had a chance to make it and get paid immediately. And it wasn't about the pay because I love football, but that's how I made the decision.
I just want to let you know that Colorado almost beat Texas A&M, who beat Alabama. So Colorado could be better than A&M and Alabama.
They could be, but I mean that happens. So Auburn went so that's the kind of stuff. So I did play baseball and that was kind of a cool thing. I got a chance to live out a dream. Here's another thing funny about it was that had I known that you could play baseball, you can be a pro in one sport and an amateur in another, I probably would have went to play baseball out of high school, took the money, helped mom out, helped the family out a little bit more. Went through the process because I was been younger then. I'd been 19, I'd been 18, 19. Then went through the minor leagues, and then I felt like I had enough natural talent that I could have got to the next level with the right coaching. I mean, I told you we were 2-21, so apparently that wasn't a bunch of coaching. You know what I mean? Everything I got was just over time practicing how to be a better baseball player with my buddy. So, and then baseball was a potential dream, but do I think I could have done it longer? Nah. I mean, for baseball, that's a trek. That's a hike. You know what? Let me back up. That's everything y'all do in media.
Excuse me?
That's everything for the most part y'all do in media. When you look at baseball, the process of it. Yeah, you start out small. You're in these little
don't even get me started on that.
Right, and that's literally the part until you get to prime time, and you're waiting to get to the show. When you get to the show, you're looking at a teleprompter. You got people. You got an actual badge. You park in a certain parking lot. That's baseball.
Frank, this is the show, baby. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, no, I'm saying
that's how I look at it.
No, I'm saying we're in the show now. I mean, but when you first started, come on now. When you first started, you had to do your work.
Everybody has a parking pass here, just so you know.
Yes,
really,
everyone
Saul?
has a parking pass.
There's also free snacks.
There's also free parking.
I feed everybody. What in the hell, Chierstin? Jesus. I'm flying you to Cleveland?
Yeah,
no, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm done with this.
But look, yeah. So.
Okay, well, really.
Southwest just called. They canceled the flight.
Well, really, what we're trying to say is we have our very own Bo Jackson on staff here. And so, Frank, we went ahead and named a segment after you. It's called Frank Knows.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's how they used to look, folks. That's how those arms used to look.
So you had a few
fly.
plays from Sunday that you want to break down. So now you've got your own segment called Frank Knows.
Frank Knows.
So
Heck yeah.
you can take over from here if you want.
Yeah, well, let's dive into it. I appreciate that's so fly. I feel so I'm blushing over here. Man, here's where we are right now. There are certain things that we bring to the table through PHNX that not everybody's able to do. And that's also to bring an educated segment that we can talk about it as we go along from that standpoint. So here's a couple of things in the game that I want you guys to know. Number one, the NFL is a copycat league. And if you watch the game, this is the first play. These are only going to be still shots. They won't be video because we're not at that place right now. However, but I want you to see what the league does. The first screen you're going to see, this is the formation the Cardinals ran, and you have basically you have a basic front and a 4-3 defense that they're showing. But our offense, you're going to see a play that happens when can you run to the next screen? And you can see this is the screenplay where Rondell catches the ball on the outside and he runs basically to the touchdown, right? But what you're going to see in this play is that since the league is just a copycat league, can you go back real quick to the first segment? You'll see the formation that we're in. This is the formation where we have two receivers up top, one down at the bottom, but we have two backs in the backfield. And all we did was we ran a screen, we ran a RPO fake counter to the right and a screen out to the left. All right, so go back to the second play, and then we're going to go to San Francisco. And the first play you'll see San Francisco formation is you'll see there in a 3-by-1 set, which is three receivers down to the bottom, one up top, and then one back in the backfield. But in this play right here, go to the next screen, you'll see that we actually ran a screen. They ran a screenplay again that led to about a 25-yard pickup. The NFL is basically a copycat league. You're looking at two systems that basically run the same offense. And we're using tricks and plays, or we're using the fake play to get into the fake run in order to get into a pass play. And that's literally what I'm showing right here, that we're basically just a copycat league. And again, moving to the next play, this is what I want to talk about that I'm concerned with right now about us. Kyler Murray. We have two receivers at the bottom, three up top. This is basically, look at the time on the timestamp. It's the second quarter, 30 seconds to go in the game, but we're on the 34, we're on like a 35, 36-yard line going in to score. And this is something that I'm paying attention to now has Kyler progressed? Is he progressing? And when you see, if you go to the next play, the ball is hiked right there, right over the center, right now in the middle of the field. There's a receiver wide open, but Kyler is looking to the left. And to me, that tells me that he's waiting for something specifically on the left side instead of just taking the immediate play right there, right? Here's what happens. You go to the next screen. Kyler moves back away from the line right now. And you can see he's almost 10 to 12 yards back. He's running away from getting sacked. If he steps up in the pocket, he then gives himself the window to see. You still see Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk, the receiver, is wide open. And to our right on the top screen, you'll see that the receiver is open as well.
Yeah.
If he slides up in the pocket and not do what he's been doing, which was last year, he'd always bail out right or do a spin out the right and spin out left. And he did that a couple of times in the game. That wasn't productive. That lets me know the pre-snap read right now, either he's in week 5, this is week 5. And this is right now Miracle Murray right now stuff he's doing.
Magician.
You're right. And that wasn't necessary right here. All he had to do was slide up in the pocket, which they provided for him. And then the two DNs would have not had an opportunity to make that sack. And so that to me right now is, and he did that a couple of times. He did that when he had a chance to hit, Andre D. Hopkins in the end zone. And it was early in the game. And it just something to me right now, I'm having to pay attention to more because I feel like our offense is better than that. You'll go back, to me, there you go, cool. But you'll see that I think that there were so many plays that was left on the field that we didn't perform. A 17-10 game against a division opponent, you would say, that's a great game. It was a tough, hard-fought game. In truth, San Francisco got a ton of holding penalties that they got called back because they're not used to blocking for a running quarterback. So he's changing the pocket, changing the narratives, and those things to me says I'm not sure if he's being as solid as he need to be. There's some parts of his game that look like he's regressing, and or he's taking it for granted that because he's pre-snap reading and judging, and he's looking to the left and staring guys down, and that to me is not a solid thing. Those are a couple things I saw several times watching the film.
I think there's two things, and Johnny, you mentioned it when you were there at the stadium about because from the press box you can see the all 22, you can see the spacing that he had times to step up into the pocket and he bailed. Now my question is did he bail because Rodney Hudson came out of the game and maybe he wasn't confident in what was going to happen up front? Or did he just bail because he wasn't as prepared as he should have been? Maybe
he had an uncharacteristically, I don't know, not bad game by any stretch, but just that internal clock in his head, I think, was rushed because he came out and said he thinks San Francisco's got the best defensive line that he's seen in the NFL. Nick Bosa was really good, and as was Armstead, the defensive tackle. DJ Reader plowed through Josh Jones once or twice. And then they've got the other kid, his name escapes me, that they traded for from Kansas City. He's their other pass rusher who's always hurt. They've got a real deal front seven. I think what ended up happening is as the game went on, as he got hit a little bit more, he was more keen to try to take it outside. They left a spy for him, and that was evident, and there was no place to run. And so to Frank's point, I think that there were probably 2 or 3 instances where he could have stepped up, shuffles his feet, and get parallel or vertical toward the line of scrimmage. I didn't think the interior pressure was as bad as the edge pressure was. And the edge pressure was fine. I think they only still allowed 2 sacks in that game. But, I mean, they got after him. This defense, it may not have Robert Saleh, but D'Amico Ryans is their defensive coordinator. He was on the staff last year. So the last 2 times they faced him, they've neutralized him from that regard. Now, you go back to week 1 of last year, and he ran all over them. So it's been a priority for them. But their front seven is legitimately, it's borderline elite. I mean, Nick Bosa, who I've been critical of, he was almost unblockable Sunday for DJ Humphrey. So to Saul's point, I think it was probably more on Kyler than we would have anticipated.
It looked that way to me. Like he was not the same guy that we saw the week before, having that confidence to sit in the pocket or slide when he knew he needed to slide or step up. And that is the part where it makes me feel like in week 5, is he regressing or is he getting better?
I think it's can get better. He can still get better.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say regressing at all. I would say that when he gets into moments where he feels, a little bit of panic or a little bit of maybe even unpreparedness. Like maybe he just didn't see something in the defense that came to fruition when he snapped the ball. He panics, and then what he tries to do is improvise. And the 49ers did a great job of not letting him get outside the pocket in his improvisation. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I think.
Yeah, there could be something to your point, Saul, about his comfort level without Rodney Hudson. If you compare it to if Rodney Hudson in your offensive line as it is sort of a safety net, you feel safe and you have that confidence, and all of a sudden now you take that safety net away. Just mentally, you could be resorting to past things.
It's like PTSD, football PTSD, right? You're like, oh man, I faced this team last year. They blew through our offensive line. I got hit a bunch. Oh, I got hit a bunch in the first quarter. I got to adjust what I do. I got to go to my safety net, which is running the ball.
Also, so Peter back in the chat said, why are there so many timeouts to avoid delay of game penalties? You think they would have figured it out this year? I will say this. The games that look a little erratic from a coaching standpoint happen to be the same games where Kyler looks a little erratic on the field. And when you come down the field on that first drive and you're doing whatever you want to do to the 49ers.
Yeah, he looked electric.
He looked fantastic. I thought they were going to put up 50 points in the game. Mm-hmm. And you get to a first and goal from the 1 yard line, you got to call timeout because of a delay, because you want to avoid a delay game. And that just tells me, like, why right now are you calling a timeout? Because when you fast forward to the clips that Frank is showing, they looked unprepared for the 2-minute drill in its entirety.
No sense of urgency.
Yeah, and they could have taken a timeout right there if they had 2 left, but they only had 1. And on top of that, they just were taking their sweet ass time snapping the ball, and I didn't understand it. And I just feel like there's these situations where it's like you're getting close to the end of the clock, and you're like go, and when you're in that position, you're not preparing yourself to see the defense and make your proper reads. And I think that's what happened to Kyler.
We hold them a high expectations out because they're 5-0, and Kyler's playing like an MVP. But you need him to have that Brady internal clock, Russell Wilson. It doesn't happen to those offenses. That's where we need Kyler to take that next step, or Kyler and Cliff as a partnership where they need to be more buttoned up offensively.
When you saw Lamar Jackson last night in the 2-minute drill against the Colts, they basically ran the 2-minute drill the entire fourth quarter.
That's correct.
And it was like Lamar Jackson knew, like, we have the personnel to do what we need to do against this defense. They can't sub because we're just going to go nonstop.
Yeah.
And I'm going to eat their ass up. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And he knew exactly where to go with the ball. There was a sense of urgency. Every player ran back to it. Like, they went, go, 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 go. That's what you think you were going to see with Cliff Kingsbury's offense, especially in under 2 minutes. You got the exact opposite of that. That would be my one thing about this that I'm just absolutely kind of bitter about, is that they need to be better about that.
Yeah. They improved their end of the game offense to run the clock out, though. So we're taking baby steps with this group. They ran the clock out in San Francisco, something they haven't done on any team that I can remember in the Kingsbury era, where they just had to get first downs. So it's baby steps.
All right, let's talk winners and losers from the week. And I'm going to remind you guys, I'm going to preface my winner by saying, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code PHNX, bet on a game, $1, you're going to get free money to use for betting. And now my winner. Some person with a hit on a 15-pig parlay, the wager was just $25. The payout was over $49,000.
It's a good weekend.
It's a good winner.
That's a fantastic weekend. And that would never happen to me because I'm not great at them yet. But 15-pig parlay. That's my winner.
So I have 2 winners. Number 1, I'm a winner because I use Manscape at manscape.com, promo code PHNX, and you get 20% off site-wide. And
free shipping.
If you guys, free shipping. I know you guys have checked out my profile, specifically on the bet show, and there's a nice close-up of my head, and you can see that I'm using the Lawnmower 4.0. I'm using the body gel. I'm getting after it, manscape.com, promo code PHNX. Saul, have you been liking you got your Manscaped tee on right now, man?
I do. Yep. My
Look
balls
sharp.
will thank me for it. So, yeah, it's been great. Like,
Yeah.
I say this on every show, and I'm not going to go prolonged and go graphic about it, but
Thank you.
it is versatile. You can use it in the shower. It has a light on it. So in case you want to do some in the dark shaving, you're good to go.
Your power runs out.
Yeah. So it's like I said, it's a great product. Yeah, you should definitely use it.
So Manscaped, manscaped.com, promo code PHNX, free shipping, 20% off. Use it now. My second winner of the week is Steve Keim. Steve Keim, who for the second consecutive season has this team on the right track as the general manager, but this time 5-0. All of his personnel moves out. You can nitpick a couple here and there. He's pushing all the right buttons. Hey, I wanted them to go out and draft Najee Harris. I'm going to bring in James Conner instead. I'm going to go out and bring in Xavier Collins, who played a pivotal role Sunday. J.J. Watt announced his arrival Sunday with his big-time performance. A.J. Green, Rodney Hudson, Matt Prater, Marco Wilson, Rondell Moore. He may not have batted 1,000 in the offseason, but it was damn close. So Steve gets a lot of heat. I've given him heat in the past because he's had some really poor off seasons and made some bad decisions, but they're not 5-0 without his moves right now.
My winner is everyone that's an Auburn Tiger fan who now is yelling "Go Aggies," because Alabama lost this weekend and to Texas A&M, and I know for a fact anytime Alabama loses, we feel really good about that in our life as an Auburn person.
So is Auburn fans are the winners?
Yeah, all Auburn fans right now are definitely winners. I feel like once
we're all winners when Alabama loses.
And they changed the entire narrative 100% across the board when it comes to picking who's number one in the country, your top 5 teams in the country, or top 4 basically. And I think that's Texas A&M is the winner. Jimbo Fisher, those guys, man, that's not an easy team to beat, and that team didn't make it easy, and they pulled it out. And that's just referencing the college because it's tough to win in the SEC, and to beat Bama like right now, that's if they died today, that they'd be 100% happy. And that's all they needed. They just needed that one win. Now, next week they might get smashed by the most smallest team on the planet, but this week they're winners.
So
my winner of the week is my guy from Tucson, went to South Point High School. He now plays for the University of Texas.
Bijan Robinson.
He is he's one of the best running backs in the country. He's in the some people have him as one of the front runners for the Heisman because of his performance so far this year. He has just been balling out of his mind. It's too bad the rest of his team can't pull their shit together so they can beat OU and not give up 21 points in the fourth quarter. Help my guy out, okay? Let's go, Texas. Help out my guy Bijan because he deserves the Heisman. I don't care. I am biased. That's my winner of the week.
I got to
because
cover.
He had over 135 yards rushing, a couple touchdowns. He had one hell of a run in the first half. Yeah, and he's the fucking most awesome kid ever. He really is.
I got to cover his last high school football game where he broke the state record for I don't know if it was I think it was yards in a career at the high school level. He was one of the best players I've ever seen in person. He was electric. It was like, oh my, this kid's going places for sure.
And Bijan Robinson is a microcosm of why the University of Arizona football program is where it is right now. They didn't even touch the kid. They didn't even try.
You're not good enough. We don't need you.
Until it was way too late. Yeah. Whatever. It's okay. It's just a Heisman. No big deal.
Well, sorry, Saul.
What about the losers? Should I just go ahead and start off with the losers?
Yeah, run it.
Go ahead. We'll trickle our way back here.
Still yet to win a game. So that's my loser of the week, the University of Arizona football program. Hopefully they can pull it out this week against Colorado. And PHNX Wildcats will be up in Colorado doing some crossover shows with the CU Buffs, DMVR peeps, and myself and Mike will be up there to do that. So but yeah, they're my losers.
I saw a tweet about like some massive amount of fans that like packed the stadium though, so at least the fans are still showing up.
What stadium are you talking about?
I don't know. It was something about like thanking fans because you're awesome and something about no.
Can I just cut to my loser, Shane? You rap bastard! Don't call me a loser in the chat right now. You don't think I see that? Get that off the screen.
Maybe it was a different sport.
Such a loser.
I won. Guess the lines today. I'm not a loser.
My loser would be, my loser is the Colts. I thought they played a pretty solid game. They just met somebody that was more determined and much better. And it's hard to swallow an L when you feel like you've done your best and you've given your best. but then they got somebody on the other side of the field that they ain't you can do about it. There's nothing you could do about that. Like that's the beautiful side of when you really see the real players in the NFL show up, and really that as a leader can take over a game. That's a special thing to be able to see and watch, whether he's running the ball or not, whether it's Tom Brady throwing 45 straight passes is great. But it's just a beautiful thing to see when someone can dominate a game and change the entire outcome of it. And I think that is the coach is the loser in that moment, because Carson Wentz has been fighting for a subject line. He's been fighting for a great win against a great player, and that guy just wouldn't quit. He just wouldn't quit. He wasn't going to lose that game.
31 teams passed on that guy in that 2019 draft, 2018, including the Cardinals.
Yep.
Big gap between Josh Rosen and Lamar
Jesus.
Jackson. Good Lord.
The Cardinals.
You know what's so funny is for the
you,
longest time, I think basically the entire time I've ever been a Cardinals fan, I've always said, because they've always had shitty offensive line play.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even remember the last time they had solid offensive line play. I would always clamor for a scrambling quarterback because I felt like they needed it just to stay out of their own way. They needed it. And so many quarterbacks have come and gone, and they just passed them all up to go with the pocket passer. And now they finally listen to me, and they get Kyler Murray, and all is well.
Things
That's
work
exactly
out.
what I
Things
said was
work
going to
out the
happen.
way they should.
Well, I'm going to start off by defending my earlier statement. Arizona Football tweeting out, a big thank you to our fans for coming out this past Saturday. We had over 43,000 come and show their support at our whiteout game.
First of all, I have been in the press box when they have called out the attendance, and that
It's not a
attendance
lot.
is absolute bullshit.
But you know what? They haven't won a single game. So
Yeah,
they're lucky
that's
to
why
have
it's not
3,000.
43,000 there. There's no way. there
Oh,
was
you're
43,000.
saying bullshit on the amount.
Yeah, there's
right.
no way. No way. I saw the stands on TV.
I
There's
did
no
too.
way there was 43,000 people there. Maybe they sold 43,000 tickets
No.
because half of them they gave away.
Right.
Well, all I'm saying is the tweet
We
said
believe you. We believe you. We don't believe you.
My loser is the Browns because they scored 42 points, did about all they possibly could, and still lost to the Chargers. They broke records. Like, they had a historic loss because of I think it was like over 5 touchdowns, 500 yards of offense, something crazy like that, and still lost the game. Like, it had never been done, and 0 turnovers. So they did, and you mentioned doing all that you can do. They did just about all that they could. Some questionable play calling, some questionable play calling, and then some questionable officiating as well. But I feel like you have that in every NFL game. So it was what it was. But they lost that game, which I feel like they're going to be like super ticked off heading into Sunday. They're not going to be super ticked off.
Well,
they got a chip on their shoulder now.
Emotionally drained,
They got
either. It'd be either or.
yeah,
either or.
yeah. This game would be won in the first half. And it'll be determined if they're still emotionally drained or if they're really charged up to beat the team that's undefeated.
I would say physically drained more than
Their
anything.
coach is
And they
big
can
time,
get that,
So I
so-
think you're right. I think they'll be pissed off.
Both teams went through the grinder last week.
Mhm.
They did.
Different ways.
Right.
Good point.
Like
Good
more
point.
like, these dudes just basically sprinted up and down the field doing suicides basically
Right.
the entire game. Whereas, like the Cardinals did like crab walks the entire game.
Right,
It's
wall
it's
sits.
both fatigue, but it's different kind of fatigue. So we'll see how this plays out on Sunday.
Bear crawls. What else is there?
Wall sits. What's the thing? The planking.
Planking, yeah.
Yeah.
Inchworms.
Squat thrusts.
Yeah.
So, is that all we got?
Do I get a
sorry,
loser?
Johnny. I'm so sorry to cut you off again. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I kind of called out Shane in the chat as my loser, but the sub bullet to that is Kyle Shanahan, who continues to be a big fat fraud. He's looking at his 4th losing season in 5 years with San Francisco 49ers. Cliff Kingsbury now with a better regular season winning percentage than Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, who traded 3 first-round picks for what we saw on Sunday. You don't trade for 3 first-round picks for what I saw in person. That kid's I like Trey Lance as a person. That's an absolute project. He's played 1 football game in 2 years. You trade 3 first-round picks. You go out and get Deshaun Watson. You get somebody who's pro-ready like Justin Fields, especially if you think you're going to compete for a Super Bowl. So Kyle Shanahan is a big-time loser, and you love to see it.
Who has more hate in their heart? Is
Damn,
it Johnny for Kyle
seriously.
Shanahan or is it Frank for kickers?
I hate Kyle Shanahan.
I'm not a fan of kickers. I'm just not a fan of
hate,
kickers.
not a fan. I think.
I
hate
mean, but I
wins.
mean, like that's like I'm trying to be nice with my words, but that is. Look, the NFL sucked this week in kickers this week.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
just extra points, just not extra points right there. Just bloop, at 6, 7. That's it.
People talk about nepotism in the NFL. Like Kyle Shanahan is nepotism personified. People dog on Cliff because they think he was gifted this job, but he comes from a military family. He does work hard.
What does that have to do with anything?
He dropping bars, ain't he? Lil Wayne over there, he
Comes from a
dropping
military
bars over
family
there.
like that. I came from a military family. Should I be the head coach of the Cardinals?
Let's get you.
You
out.
could be. You're
head coach.
disciplined. You could be.
No, I just mean if you think Cliff's entitled, then you have to think Kyle Shanahan's entitled. Because the knock on Cliff was he can't win. Kyle Shanahan doesn't win, and everybody thinks the difference is the perception of Cliff is way different than Shanahan. That was my point. It was a bad example. Kyle Shanahan had an
He's in the
outlier
Super
Super Bowl
Bowl,
year.
though. Yeah,
he's an
in the
under
Super Bowl.
500 coach. Cliff Kingsbury has one losing season and is en route to have his first winning season in 3 years. So they're closer than people think is the point I'm trying to make. But no, you're right.
But shout out to military families.
Yeah, shout out to all the military families in the world.
If
That
you
was
guys
the most random anecdote.
If you guys have not subscribed to our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts, why haven't you? You get great conversations like this. Johnny makes great points all the time.
Most of the time.
So subscribe and then also follow us on social media, PHNX_sports, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We'll see you tomorrow.